Nelson Mandela achieved the status of a secular saint, revered not just in South Africa, but across the world.
Free, 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 Nelson Mandela.
He was the symbol of a just struggle against racism. A man who emerged from 27 years in prison unbowed, but without bitterness.
I have no doubt at all that he is going to be remembered as an icon of reconciliation and forgiveness, a person of very considerable magnanimity who was able to preside over a process of transformation when you make a transition from repression to democracy, and avoiding the bloodbath that everybody expected was going to have happened.
He was born in rural Transkei, the son of a polygamous marriage, the first in his family to go to school. The missionaries gave him the name Nelson. In white-ruled South Africa, the black majority were denied even the most basic rights. This was apartheid.
Strict laws keep Africans in their place. Separate lavatories and segregated park benches.
At university, Mandela joined the African National Congress, fighting for equal rights. At first, they believed in a Gandhian non-violent struggle, but Africans were being suppressed with ever more state violence. After the massacre by security forces of 69 demonstrators at Sharpeville in 1960, the ANC started an armed wing, Umkhonto wa Sizwe, Spear of the Nation.
There are many people who feel that it is useless and futile for us to continue talking peace and non-violence against a government whose reply is only savage attacks on an unarmed and defenseless people.
He and his colleagues targeted military and government installations. Soon he was arrested. At the famous Rivonia trial, he said he was fighting for democracy and equal rights.
It is an idea for which I hope to live for and to see realized. But my Lord, if it needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die.
He spent 18 of his 27-year imprisonment on Robben Island, where he broke stones with the other prisoners. Years later, he returned to the cell where he'd been incarcerated as prisoner number 46664. A fellow prisoner remembers how Mandela reacted when the head of prisons treated him with disrespect.
He said, "General, I want to say one thing to you. You are a general on the other side and I am a commander on one side, the other side. When we have fought it out, when we've reduced our country to ashes, it will still be necessary for one to accept the surrender from the other, whoever wins and whoever loses. But how we behave at that moment of surrender will be dictated by how we have treated each other now."
Beyond the prison walls, South Africa was burning. There was warfare between black people and the forces of the apartheid state. Mandela became an icon of the struggle against injustice and racism. In London, campaigners marched for his release and for an end to apartheid. During the long years Mandela spent inside, they kept on marching. But this was the Cold War. The US and Britain supported the South African government because it was anti-communist. Mrs. Thatcher had no sympathy.
The ANC says that they will target British companies. This shows what a typical terrorist organisation it is.
A huge concert at Wembley in 1988 in Nelson Mandela's honour provoked the anger of the apartheid government.
Nelson Mandela himself is a convicted criminal and is still in prison for those crimes.
But it showed the strength of global popular opinion. Free Nelson Mandela was the cause of a generation. And by then, secret talks were going on, which led to Mandela's release in 1990. He walked out hand in hand with his then wife Winnie, the crowds at his feet, the burden of hope on his shoulders. Not everyone knew whether he would push for revenge or reconciliation. They soon found out.
I have been saying throughout, let bygones be bygones. Let what has happened pass as something unfortunate, but which we must forget.
But the violence wasn't over. When a white extremist shot the ANC's Chris Hani, conflict looked likely again. It was Mandela who pulled South Africa back from the brink. In 1993, he and F.W. de Klerk, the president who had released him, were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Theirs was a government of national unity, but Mandela ensured that the ANC prevailed.
He wouldn't raise his voice, but he'd make it very clear that this is what we want, and this is what I want, and this is the way it's going to happen. And if you don't like it, you can lump it.
April 1994. South Africans queued for their first free elections. One person, one vote, black or white. Mandela, the chief architect of the new dispensation, was elected president.
Never, never, and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another.
In a potent gesture, he attended the Rugby World Cup, wearing the emblem of white Afrikanism, the Springboks kit, and the white crowd chanted his name. He rode through London with the Queen. He met the Clintons. Everyone wanted to be seen with him, from Prince Charles to the Spice Girls.
You're not old. You're not old. You're as young as the girl you feel, and I'm 25.
I'll take that up, yeah?
But professional triumph was matched by personal pain. He and Winnie had married in 1958. During his imprisonment, she was implicated in violent atrocities, corruption and infidelity. The marriage ended in divorce.
He loved her. He loved her very, very, very passionately, very deeply. And it was one of the most traumatic things for him to have had to divorce her. And, you know, we think of the price that he paid, the heavy price of 27 years in jail. But I think his divorce from Winnie was one of the most painful things that could have ever happened.
After one term, he handed over to Thabo Mbeki, his gift to Africa, the example of a leader who relinquishes power.
I'll be standing next to the road, saying, please help, unemployed, no money, a new wife.
He had just remarried to Graça Machel, widow of the late Mozambican president, and started the life of a statesman and celebrity, an international treasure. He founded the Nelson Mandela Foundation, partly to help people with AIDS, a problem he felt he had failed to address while in power. In 2004, he announced his retirement from public life with characteristic good humour.
The appeal, therefore, is, don't call me. I'll call you.
But he came to London for a 90th birthday party in Hyde Park and dropped in on the Queen. The man who Mrs. Thatcher thought was a terrorist was honoured with a statue overlooking Westminster. Personal sadness came again when his granddaughter was killed in a car accident just before the Football World Cup in South Africa. He appeared at the end of the tournament, frail now, but still determined to be there for that moment in South Africa's history. On his 92nd birthday, he was surrounded by children. His personal experience of loss may be lessened by the love and esteem in which he was held. He was last seen in public in April, President Jacob Zuma delighted to be filmed at his side. Mandela himself silent, weakened by age and illness. Life slipping away from a man who sacrificed so much to end apartheid and create the new South Africa.
Sikelela thina nosapho lwayo.